Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome to Money Talks with the Black Sky Group with your host Latrice, the Forex Queen, Will, the stock market bully, and me, Anthony, the Godfather Norwood, here to discuss all things finance when it comes to building wealth and residual income. This week's show is sponsored by Personimus Solutions. Services include credit counseling and debt settlement. For information, go to their website, www.personimussolutions.com. That is www.personimussolutions.com. How do we spell Personimus?
So, Personimus Solutions is PERSONAMEANT, solutions.com.
Yeah, y'all got the spelling now, so we in there. Yes, sir. So, hey, let me give you guys a quick recap of episode 5, which was epic and fire, might I add. All right, last week we discussed the importance of networking. We had Dominique Jones on the show as an entrepreneur out of Fayetteville. Then we discussed retail versus institutional trading. So, Latrice, give us a quick recap from the institutional versus retail trading.
Yes, so when we talked about last week, institutional versus retail traders, so we talked about who are the major players as far as institutional trading, including your banks. Your banks are trading your money. Retail traders like myself, and how it's a growing thing that people are doing now. So
yeah, and one thing that really hit our audience hard last week was they didn't know that the reason they couldn't access their bank accounts at certain times because the banks was out there.
Banks were trading it in the Forex market. So yeah.
Okay. Hey, Will, talk to us about the recap from the networking perspective from Black Sky Group.
Networking perspective. First and foremost, shout out to all the listeners and each and every member of the BSG. Thank you all for tuning in and making this journey possible. Reminder to everyone, I know I had said this in a couple weeks, but download Robinhood and TD Ameritrade so that you can participate in these trades that we're doing daily. She puts out that what is it called?
Oh, it's just my daily trade setups.
Daily trade setups in the dark pool. I like it. We had to give it a name. Those daily trade setups. And we're talking about the network. That's why we're telling you how to do these things, because again, the reason that we can meet people like Sylvia, the reason that I know Latrice, the reason that I know Chief is because we created our own small network. And the advantage is you meet people that you usually wouldn't do, and they're like-minded personnel. So somebody that's about business will network with you on the business side and not something personal, just to have a drink or kick it around. You all have something else to talk about.
Yeah, like-minded people, man. And that's the point of emphasis that we talked about last week, is surround yourself around like-minded people and watch yourself thrive. All right. For my entrepreneurs, man, we spoke to Mr. Dominique Jones. Like I say, he's a 10-year entrepreneur out of Fayetteville, North Carolina, man. He talked about some of the things that he learned along the way. He gave us inspiration on how he got started and his insights on how to overcome adversity as being an entrepreneur in this entrepreneurial world, which is a really cutthroat world, guys. So, if you're getting started, remember that. All right, so this week's show, we got some more heat. Yes, sir, we do. This week, all right, we're going to discuss something that's extremely important to life itself in general. All right, today's going to be a life lesson. We're going to talk about the Black Sky Group and our why. Why Black Sky Group? What is our why? Then we're going to talk about our individuals' whys. You know what I'm saying? For the stock market bully, the Forex Queen, and the Godfather, we're going to tell you what our whys are. All right, and then on this week's show, we have a special guest in the building, Miss Sylvia Glanton. She is the owner and founder of Personimus Solutions, based out of Fayetteville, North Carolina. So we're going to get right to it. As a matter of finance, I'm going to do something new. I'm going to start this week. What? Let's do this. All right, so let's talk about the Black Sky Group's why. All right, the Black Sky Group is actually simple. The why is actually simple. We wanted to form a conglomerate in which we would able to educate as many people as possible in the different industries where it comes to trading, entrepreneurship, real estate, everything, man. We want to create a conglomerate that produces residual income or generational wealth. All right. So for me, as Black Sky Group, it's more of it. To me, is to take people endeavors to a higher network, right, or higher levels. All right, and then I look at it for a point of, if I can inspire one person, all I need is one. If I can inspire one person through the BSG group, then it's a success for me. All right. So we talk a lot about on the podcast about building generational wealth when it comes to trading, investing. All right. So if you follow our Facebook page, right? That's BSG Capital Growth on Facebook. Search BSG Capital Growth on Facebook, and then you'll see all the types of conversations that we're having in that group, right? And that's our networking platform, and that's my why. I know I talked about it last week, but I posed a question, not a question, but so much a statement in the group about entrepreneurs coming in front of the congregation, right? And talking about who they were and what they did, right? That was part of the why. It's to network people all across the country, bring businesses together, and that way we could build small empires all together. You know what I'm saying? So BSG as a network, or in our why, is to teach and educate and continue to push that on people to say, hey, if another pandemic or something like that happens, I'm ready. You know what I'm saying? That's why we are here, to show you, hey, it's possible. You know what I'm saying? To get started now, here are the tools to get started, and how to go forward. And then if you continue to listen to us, whether it's podcast or in the group, and we give you nuggets, we kind of give you answers to the test along the way. So you may hit a brick wall and say, oh man, I'm stuck. I don't understand how to do this marketing piece. Well, guess what? 2 episodes ago, I taught you how to do marketing from the social media standpoint, right? Or it's, I don't know how to do whatever. You can reach out to us on the group and pose that question, right? So Will, Latrice, when it comes to the Black Sky Group, you know what I'm saying? How do you see the why and what we're doing?
Oh, for me, for the why for the Black Sky Group. So for me is creating that exposure. So allowing people to see that, hey, we're out here and this is what we're doing, without the intentions of we're wanting something from you.
Right.
So we're trying to get some information to you. And so that exposure is gonna prompt you to actually go back and educate yourself, and to do the research, and to kind of open your eyes to something. We talk about generational wealth. Well, this is generational. This is something that we can expose you to, that you can expose your children to, and their children to. And so it causes a ripple effect. Right. And so I think it's important that people are plugged in so that they can get the information. All we're doing, we're just vessels, giving you the exposure, and then you take that exposure and you run with it.
Yes.
Now, for me personally, my why personally, as far as in the Forex market, is to create a space for women in this place, because it's a male dominant industry. And when you think of Forex, you don't think of women. You don't think of anybody that looks like me trading in the foreign exchange market. So if it's something that I can say or do to impact women and give them a space and give them an entry into this market and teach them how they can wear many hats and do this and do that and still trade, then that's my goal.
I like it. Will, what you got on that? Throw some salt on this one, baby.
Oh man, you always put behind Latrice. She come with all that heat.
It's
hard, but I might have some for today. I think
okay.
she hit on some of it. And the biggest thing, my why is, most people, in order to teach you how to create income, or to teach you how to trade, they want to charge you. At the low end, it's about $1,500 to learn how to charge. On the high end, people pay upwards of $10,000 to learn how to trade stocks alone.
That's facts.
You have people here that you can reach out to, myself, Chief, and Latrice, that are willing to do it for free. Yeah. So what makes us different in the Black Sky Group is, we don't want to charge, we want to educate, and we want to grow partners. And the reason we want to grow partners is, if you get good at trading and you have more expendable income, we can come together as a group eventually and start to create other endeavors. I.e., if we want to go and buy an apartment complex, if we want to take, it takes $500K and pledge money to open up a check cashing facility. Where if one day we want to do that, we have a group of people that, yes, you don't have 100K, but if you have 10K that you've built, 50 people, we can open up a check cashing facility in underprivileged communities, and we can work towards that. But it has to start here. We have to start with the baseline. And that's what the Black Sky Group is, that baseline, to create partners so that everybody in this room, everybody that's listening, can get some residual wealth.
Oh, Will came with the heat today, man.
Right.
Will came with the heat today. I like it. Hey, to sum that up, man, so the Black Sky Group, why is to build little empires, man, and to educate.
Absolutely.
That's why we are here, to bring everybody together, man, build little empires, and continue to educate. So let's go into the personal whys. Latrice already gave you her personal why. You know what I'm saying? She want to get women into trading, and that's a beautiful thing. You know what I'm saying? Because in the trading world, it's male dominated. You know what I'm saying? It's a male dominant industry. So Will, what's your personal why? Talk to the people.
My personal why is, I'm a comms guy by trade in the military, so I'm a natural nerd. You wouldn't know it, but I'm a nerdy
natural
guy.
Nerd.
That being said, I do a lot of reading. I strive for a lot of understanding. I take economics like I do with other things, where I like to watch Bloomberg in the morning and CNBC and to see what's going on in the market and decipher what's happening on the macro events. That's not for everybody, and that's fine, because if you know somebody like me and we can come together, and I may have a little bit more understanding. My personal why is to take the knowledge that I have, that I've learned and I can use, and pass it on to others.
Yeah.
That's it. Because I hope somebody would do it for me, because it took a lot of time to sit there and read for hours on end and to read and research to get to the point where I am today.
Yes, sir. Hey, so I'm gonna go into my personal why, right? And I'm gonna tell you, my why is, here's why I go so hard. First is my children. I got 2 little girls, 14 and 11, right? I want my girls to want for nothing, okay? When my girls call daddy, daddy comes running with whatever they want. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I want this. I'm on my way. I'm on my way. So they're the main reason I go so hard, man. And then, you know, there's people out here who will say things like, you know, my children they gonna know the struggles of hard work. They gonna know this, so I ain't gonna give them nothing. Me personally, that's BS. I don't want them to start from ground zero. Why? Why they gotta start from ground zero? You know what I'm saying? The life that you live is a legacy that you leave. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And I want my children to grow up saying, hey, my daddy left me, but it left me this. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, they will understand the value of hard work and putting in their own work, but they don't have to start from ground zero like a lot of us have. You know what I'm saying? A lot of us don't have a lot. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So that's why I personally like to build my empires. So that way they're taken care of for life. And then my grandchildren, great grands, and so forth. That's why we want to, you know, do this generational wealth. Mm-hmm. Right? Also, I've been broke before as an adult. I've been there. You know what I'm saying? For me, I was so stressed out over money that I was failing other aspects of life. So, you know, from the psychological standpoint, you know, if you're stressed out all the time about the bills, depressed about the bills and depressed about finances, everything else is gonna lack. Mm-hmm. Because you're so focused on, I don't know how I'm gonna make ends meet. So then you tend to lean on that and solely put your attention on your lack of finance. That's where you know, for me, other aspects in life was lacking. Like I wasn't able to hold relationships, whether it's intimate or friendships, because my mind was so wrapped up into I don't have money. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So that right there is my why. You know, then I decided that, you know, I couldn't live like this. So guess what I did? I started figuring out ways to make some residual income. Mm-hmm. That's what I did. And I never looked back. Just like in Damon John's book, Damon John has a book called The Power of Broke. You know what I'm saying? And if you read his book, it tells you about, hey, being broke is a motivating factor to get up and go. Mm-hmm. And for me, that was it. So my secondary why was being broke. I never want to feel that feeling again. Mm-hmm. Ever. I never wanted to feel broke again in my life because it was so bad. I'm going to tell y'all something real quick. It was so bad that when I had a little girlfriend, right? Mm-hmm. I was so broke. Now, as an adult, I was so broke, man. We had to go, when we would go to McDonald's or something, we could only get one value meal. And we would split it. You know what I'm saying? That's how broke I was.
But it gives you compassion for other people.
It does.
When you don't come from you don't come from money, you have to build up to that point. You tend to have a little bit more compassion for others. So
that's absolutely right. You know what I'm saying? So that motivated me, and I was like, you know what? I can't do this. Nope. So that is my why. I never want to feel broke again, and my primary is for my children to never ever feel that, to never feel that what I went through. So that's why I go so hard as an entrepreneur and as an average stock trader. All right. So before we go into our special guest today, I want to also give another promotion to BSG Capital Growth Group on Facebook, man. Go into our group. You know what I'm saying? We talk about all kinds of stuff. Like, I know we haven't had a real estate investor on the show yet. Whoa, it's coming though. Oh, it's coming. But that's what we talk about that as well in the group. Like there are real estate investors in the group. They come out and they talk about things. So come into BSG Capital Growth so you can see all that kind of investing, stock investing, entrepreneurship, tutoring 101. All right, so let's get to our special guest today. All right, Miss Sylvia Glanton. How are you, Queen? How you doing?
Doing good. How you doing?
You doing good?
Yeah.
You traveled all the way from Atlanta to be here today, didn't you?
I did.
What? How was that drive?
It was long. I had my 2 kids with me. So,
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you was pounding Red Bulls and stuff on the way?
No, just listening to some music, some 90s R&B.
90s R&B. That's okay. 90s R&B. Yeah, all right. That'll put you to sleep. All right.
No, it don't.
He did.
Hey, on the 90s, man.
I've been ran off the road. Oh, 90s
Yeah.
R&B. Money, my stroke, you up. No, I'm good. All right. So,
I
Miss
like that
Sylvia.
lyric though.
Yeah.
Try it.
90s.
What? I do too, but still, there ain't nothing I'm gonna drive to. Anyway, hey, Miss Glanton. Hey, so tell the people who you are and then tell us about your brand.
So, Sylvia, I am, a 29-year-old business owner from East Fayetteville. I take pride in being 29 and being a black business owner because of where I'm from. So, like I said, I'm from the east side of Fayetteville, and not a lot of people make it out. So, for me to be able to come in and develop a business that help other people grow, I really take pride in that. I value my reputation, value helping others. So, I'm just here to try to make a difference.
So tell us about Personament Solutions, right? What type of services do you provide to the people?
So Personament Solutions, we started off really, honing in on the whole credit thing. Once I got into the credit thing, I started working with clients, and I, heard their stories of how they really had no guidance as far as, developing businesses or knowing how to manage their finances. So I developed more so of a big old realm of services.
Oh.
So we do the whole credit thing. We also help with business structure, and we also help with developing business credit.
Really? So
Yeah.
how long have you been in business?
I started my business, the exact date is September 28th, 2017.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. So what made you say, you know what? This is what I want to do. This was my passion. This is my calling. What made you? What was your mindset going into that?
Well, the whole thing is I had a minor setback for this major comeback. Basically, what happened?
Like
is,
it.
Yeah, like that. So basically, in 2013, my identity was stolen. So I had like $23,000 in debt that was on my credit that didn't belong to me. And I called a big rig company for help. And of course, that time I was working from home, so I couldn't afford to commit to pay a monthly amount each month. So I was like, I'm just figure this out on my own. So I started fixing my credit myself, and I was able to recover from that. It took about a year, and then I helped my parents.
Right.
So that's my biggest success story, and really figuring out that I can help people and make a difference when I made a difference in my parents' life.
Right.
So
What? I like it. So the name of your company is called Personament Solutions, which is a unique name. Well, how did you come up with that name? Where did that name come from?
So if you break down, yeah, because I get it all the time. People on the phone, they try to pronounce it, and it's just like, hey, just take your time, look at it. It'll mean a lot. So whenever you look at Personament Solutions, you break it down. It's person, a, meant. So the motto for Personament Solutions is be the person you were meant to be. So I can,
Got it. Now
yeah.
we got it. Okay.
Okay.
I was waiting on that.
So person A meant is the breakdown for Personament Solutions. And like I said, I come in, I was always the person growing up as far as like in my group of friends, the person who everybody came to for advice or everybody came to figure out things. And once I left for the military, that changed. And that took a big toll on me because I felt responsible for a lot of things. So for me to be able to come in and build a business that offers that to more than people, that's just my friends, but like the world, I have access to the world, I'm ready for it.
Nice.
So, how do you with this business and it's saturated? So many people doing. I'm doing credit. How do you stand out? Like, what is it that about your business that would draw people, as opposed to so many other opportunities?
I think one of the things that makes me stand out is that I'm not really in it for the money. Of course, this is my income, this is how I live, but what's most important to me is that people get the bigger picture when it comes to being financially free or financially literate. They need to understand that, you don't have to be in a situation, and that's the whole I don't do broke thing on a shirt.
I was about to ask about
Yeah,
that. What does
so
that mean?
that's the whole idea behind I don't do broke. It's more so about your mindset versus your pockets. So people, they say, oh, I'm broke. No, you're not broke. Your mind is broke. So just making me different. I come in and try to educate people across the board all around, not just credit and just all of that.
Nice.
I think she don't treat people like a folder.
Oh, remember we talked about that? I don't treat people like a folder. You know what I'm saying? That's being agile. I like it. Go ahead.
Yeah, that I definitely don't treat my clients like another number. I like the whole personal experience. I want to be able to go in and connect with you. I want to know your story. I want to know why your credit got the way it did, and what happened. You know, because at the end of the day, whenever you are talking to creditors and lenders and stuff, you sometimes have to be transparent.
Sure.
Because they want to know, what happened. Like, did you just you decided not to pay us, or did somebody die in your family and you couldn't afford to pay us?
Right.
So those things are important. Just pulling that out of my clients to make sure that the creditors are not against you, but working with them will work out in your favor better. Nice. So just coaching them through that process.
Yeah. So on your shirt, I don't do broke. Can you break that down for us? I know you hit wave tops a minute ago, but deep dive into that, because that's a strong statement.
Yeah.
And once people understand, they'll see your shirt. So anybody who will see the shirt, they get the misconception of, oh, I don't do broke. It's a woman wearing it. That means she's a gold digger. You know what I'm saying? No, that's not the case. So let these people know what that really means.
So on my way down here, I actually listened to Rich Dad Poor Dad. And I know if you all are familiar with the book, it just breaks down the difference between a rich dad and a poor dad. And the poor dad had a broke mindset where, if things didn't go his way, he kind of just dealt with it, versus the rich dad, he figured ways out to, make money and multiply and things like that. So when it comes to the I don't do broke, it's more saying, like, if you hit a brick wall, figure out how to go over that brick wall and don't just take what's given to you.
Yeah.
So if you do broke, you're going to take what's given to you. If you don't do broke, you can go out and do what you got to do and get that bag.
So, in other words, what you're saying is, I don't do broke is not a financial statement. It's a mindset.
It's a mindset.
I like it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about you being a professional and then, Personament Solutions, being an entrepreneur, the service you provide. I want your honest professional opinion on this, right? You've been in what you do. Why do you think COVID closed the doors of so many companies permanently?
So the biggest thing that I think happened during COVID-19, especially for small business owners, is they were not structured properly. So they didn't have someone to come in and say, hey, make sure you're not commingling your funds, or make sure that you're actually keeping your bank account, your business affairs in order. So we had from January up until March, which is 3 months. So whenever you go through the whole loan process to try to, make sure that you can recover from the COVID, they're going to ask for those bank statements. So if you have those 3 month worth of bank statements and it looks like you're spending money on stuff that's not pertaining to your business, then a lot of people couldn't get the loans. Also, when it comes to your personal credit, that's a factor.
Whoa, say that last sentence again.
Your personal credit is very important. You have to have good personal credits to start building business credit.
Really?
Yeah, I don't care what company you go to, they can't promise you that they can build your business credit if your personal credit is not in place.
So a lot of these people close permanently, not temporarily. I get the temporary piece because of rules and regulations by the government, but for people who didn't reopen, it was a structural flaw. Yeah, because at the end of the day, all of these resources were put out here for us to get them. And I think that if everyone would have had their business affairs in order, they probably would have been in a better situation. Really?
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's something.
That's something I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
And one of the other things too is the whole revenue thing. People think that they can go get a business loan even just because they have a business, but if you're not making any money, how are you going to pay the loan back? They're not going to give it to you.
Facts. She's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's the same thing when you have investors.
Yeah. You have to have a track record showing that you've been bringing in something.
Yep. I like it.
Wow.
So, and like Latrice alluded to earlier about, there's a lot of people out here who are saying, hey, I fix credit. I do this and I do that. Well, here's the thing with that. So say if you fix my credit score was a 500, right? Which is in the dumps. Okay. Then all of a sudden you fix my credit. Now I got a 700. Well, I went and applied for all kind of credit cards and went and got a new vehicle and all this good stuff, right? Now I'm back in debt again. Now I'm back in the dumps again. Yep. So with that being said, like, do you educate your clients on the importance of credit, how to get to that credit rating, and then how to maintain it? Because I think that's what we're lacking is how to maintain that credit rating versus having it. You know what I'm saying? So what type of educational things do provide.
So I would say too on that, just because you provide education doesn't mean everybody's going to do what they're supposed to do after they leave you. So a lot of people do end up in that situation, even if you give them the information, because they're going to just do what they want to do.
Yeah.
And I tell people just because they said yeah, don't mean you have to.
What?
So. I do teach people how to use their credit cards. Like, for instance, when you have a credit card, say it has like a major balance that could afford for you to make a car payment on that. You have a car payment every month. You're going to pay your car payment with your cash or from your checking account. Why not put that car payment on your credit card and pay it off with your cash and start, creating that series of events each month, so that way you're paying that card off and increasing your credit score.
Right.
So, just talking about budgeting and credit tips and making sure I'm informing them.
She made a good point of saying, look, I can educate you all day, but it's up to you to do it. That's like me being a trainer. If I give you a meal plan, I take all this time to give you a meal plan, right? But you go home and decide you want to have 2 large pieces and a whole 2 liter of Coke. You know what I'm saying? But I provided you the meal plan.
Right.
It's not going to work.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like, the whole training routine is not going to work. So if she goes and fixes your credit, and then you go against the teachings, it's all for naught. Yeah, you got these credit cards now, which you're going to go in debt over again because you don't understand. And then you go out and buy a car that you can't afford because you got the credit to get it. Like she said, just because you get approved for it doesn't mean you have to take it.
Yeah.
And that was a big thing a long time ago when the housing market, what year was that? 2005, 6? I can't remember.
7, 8 with the
Yeah,
I
big
think it was
crash.
2008.
So what was happening was, just because you got approved to take out a $500,000 loan doesn't mean you have to take $500,000.
Right.
You got to figure out, what can I afford?
Right.
And that's why credit repair is illegal in Georgia right now.
It's illegal?
You can't.
What?
Yeah. It's certain ways that you can operate a credit repair business, which is like under an attorney or as a nonprofit in Georgia now. You can't do credit repair in Georgia legally.
Really?
Yeah.
Why though? Like,
Just because of how all those people got into those houses and they couldn't afford to pay them. It really hurt. It really hurt a lot of people. And that's one of the things I educate my clients on too, because you move in a house, especially for people who have VA loans. I have a VA loan, so whenever I speak from experience.
Right.
So I have a VA loan, and whenever I went, we said we were only going to spend $100,000 on our loan. We could have got $200,000, but we're glad we didn't, because when we went in a year later, our mortgage went up. So say someone get into it, and that was because of the taxes.
yeah, of course.
So say you get into a house, your mortgage go up after a year. So, you really want to educate people on that part. So I tell people to be careful when they're buying a house, because you don't want to go in at the top of your budget.
Yeah, I'm a homeowner as well, and I see that all the time. Like, every year my mortgage will go up. I'm like, man, what happened? Whether it's the escrow or taxes, I'm like, man, what in the world is going on here? That's really good information to know. So before I go to my final question for Miss Glanton, Will, you got anything to ask her before we go to the final question? Latrice, you got anything?
I think she dropped too many dimes for me already. I've learned quite a bit.
I know it's one thing that on one of your videos you were talking about creating credit or extending your credit for your children. Mm-hmm. What advice would you give as far as giving your kids a little bit of a hand up as far as credit?
So, of course, teaching them responsibility. So, of course, assigning chores so then they can make money for those chores. So I started with my daughter with her doing chores. I didn't pay her right off bat because at the end of the day, it's something that you're supposed to be doing. But I also wanted to teach her about finances, how to earn your money and things like that. That was one of the aspects that I took on, teaching her that part. And then I came in and I added her as an authorized user on my credit card. So she's only 7. So the like I said, on the video, the pros and cons of that is that if you know how to manage debt, then it'll pay off in the end for your child. Mm-hmm. But if you're not really good with finances, then you don't want to do that because you may ruin them before they have a chance to even use it. But yeah, definitely at the age of 13 and above, it is a good idea to start exploring those options to building your credit, adding your kids as authorized users on your credit
Love
card.
it.
That's interesting. I know some credit card companies have an age limit on that, don't they?
Well,
I think American Express does, because I have an American Express card that says I think it's 18.
Yeah, it just depends. It varies. You have to check with them. But like I said, I have Capital One.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know it's different, but
So what you're telling us is don't put your cell phone bill in your child's name.
Right. Yeah.
I was hoping that for so long.
Yeah. Don't do stuff like that. Wait a minute. I'm talking about actual credit card accounts.
I'm sorry. I couldn't
Like,
help
wait a
it.
minute, what she saying? So actual credit card accounts. Things that's gonna help them. Don't put light bills and water bills and all that crazy stuff in there. And then later on they see
They was thinking it.
Sylvia told me to do it. I talked to
Right.
the credit lady. She said do it.
Look, don't sit here and put little Ray Ray's name on the freaking cable bill.
Oh,
Don't
man.
do it.
No. Because I have had that happen. I had a client or a potential client call me and say, "There's no way I could have had this account. I was 10 years old." So it happens, but I'm talking about from the positive standpoint of building credit and adding your kids to your credit cards. So they
if
have
you
a
don't
credit
pay
score.
your bills, don't add your kids
If you
to
don't
your
pay
credit
your
card.
bills, do not add your kids to your credit.
Noted.
No.
Yeah.
Hey,
Lord.
why you have so much stuff? Well, I got 2 girls, so I'm gonna put her name on the cable, and she gonna have the lights.
I'm trying to build a credit up.
Yeah, I'm trying to build their credit.
Oh, that's funny.
Adam is authorized users on credit cards.
Got it.
That's
I
love it.
Awesome. I like it.
Yeah.
So here's the final question for the interview with Ms. Glanton. But she ain't going away. She's gonna be here with us the rest of the show. But this is a 2-part question, and it may be a little complex, but let's do it. What are some of the most common misconceptions about credit? And what are some things that big banks look for when determining a person's approval when they apply for credit?
I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that you don't need it. It's not important because a lot of people go through life using cash, and they think just because they have cash that they don't need credit. So then when they go and they need credit, they can't get it because they've been using cash this whole time. And then one of the what lenders look for as far as when it comes to your credit, they're looking at 5 different things.
Okay.
Those things are your payment history, how you use your accounts, your credit mix. If you're out here applying for different accounts in a short amount of time, you're kind of looking like a red flag because you're looking desperate because you're constantly applying for stuff. And then the amount of time you've had your credit history established. So you have someone that maybe go in with a 700 credit score, but they have some things on their credit report and they get denied. So it's not necessarily about your credit score. It's about your credit profile and how you manage those things on your credit profile is what lenders are looking for.
Really? So I'm looking at your chart here. All right. And it says score range from 300 to 850.
Yeah.
Man, what do you got to do to have a 300 credit score?
Not pay your bills. If you don't pay your bills, you're gonna have a 300 credit
There's
score.
no way you can have a 300 credit score.
Yeah, don't pay your bills and use up all your credit cards to see what happens.
Max them out.
Because if you notice, the payment history on here, the payment history and credit utilization equals up to 65% of your credit score. So that's more than half. So if you're not managing your payment history, or you're using too much of your credit cards, your score is going to be low.
And that's how somebody gets a new water bill.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Little John get a water bill in his name because mama can't get it because she.
So not having credit is just as bad as having bad credit.
Right.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Really? Explain that though.
Because if I go and I look at your credit and you don't have any credit, how do I know you can pay me back or you can manage your bills?
Yeah, but okay, I got it.
It makes sense.
Yeah. All right. Okay. I like it. So the average person will go into a bank and try to get credit and get denied based off of the chart that you're showing right now because of payment history, credit card utilization, and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've seen somebody's credit score drop like 141 points just off of utilization alone.
How many points?
141 points. So, say you have a credit card and that limit is only $200 on that credit card. And you go and use it, but you don't pay it off before the closing date. So your utilization is through the roof. So maybe it's $200 and maybe you use 150. You're using too much of that. So it's going to drop your score down. And that's how it happened. 141 points. So you got to pay your cards down each month.
Yeah.
Don't leave a balance.
Yeah.
Use them to pay your bills.
So I know when I first started learning about credit, one thing I learned was, if you go and purchase something on that credit card, make sure you have the cash to pay it off, like you talked about earlier.
Yeah.
So what I would do, let's say I got gas. I'll put it on my credit card, and then that day, or if I'm lazy, the next day, go to the credit card and pay that purchase off immediately. Like I said, so you won't have that balance on your credit card.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Man, you come in here dropping gems too about credit cards and stuff. All right. So All right, man. Let's go ahead and start talking about for our advanced listeners, man. Let's talk about this market manipulation and how that works. Let's go, Will. Talk to us.
Okay.
I'm sorry, guys. No. So market manipulation, one of my favorite things to talk about. I know you all have heard me talk about the Fed and the different ways that the market can be essentially manipulated. But before we talk about market manipulation, I want to talk about some of the things that go into market sentiment, which include unemployment, retail sales figures, auto sales, housing starts, consumer price index, producer price index, purchasing manager index, consumer confidence, investor sentiment, business confidence index, all of those things plus more. If you want to read more into it, we got a great book up here. It's by a guy named James Lowell. It's called Investing for Scratch for Young Investors. I would highly advise if you hadn't been investing, you want to learn something new, check it out. The reason that they matter is because market manipulation. There's a lot of ways we can look at it. One is news can drive market manipulation. So Elon Musk, we like to use him because a tweet dropped his own share price down $100, and it recovered within a couple days. But that was a lot of money made on that drop and that upswing. Another thing that we talked about last week, institutional buying can have a big effect on stock prices. Those are penny stocks. A lot of new investors want to go to penny stocks. I'll go ahead and tell you, most investors that have been doing it for a while stay away from penny stocks because with a few $1 million, I could take a penny stock and I could drive it into the ground, or I can manipulate the price up. So be really careful with those, especially right now we got a lot of biotech stocks. But the one that we care about the most with market manipulation is artificial stimulation. That is what the Fed has done, and at no fault, because we had a pandemic. That we did not see coming. But what that means is the stock prices that we see today aren't because of sales, because everybody's been out. Everybody knows they've been at home. It isn't just Walmart and Target. All sales are starting to go up, but it doesn't coincide with the actual value of products being sold. So what happens is forward price earnings. So what people are saying is today, Apple may be worth $320, and yes, it is not. It's trading for $320. It won't be worth $320 for another 15 years, but people are paying that price today because of that's the going rate. Something else to look at for market manipulation, and it's still to be studied, is there's a lot of new retail investors, i.e. myself, and some other people that are doing more trading. So what that does is those options and those trades, they inflate stock prices. So just be cognizant as we're trading that this isn't saying the stock market is doing great, because you can look outside and see that people aren't spending at the same rate. But market manipulation can actually work in your favor because there's money to be made.
Yeah, facts. And Forex market.
Yes.
Let's talk about the market manipulation on that side.
So when I think about market manipulation, I'm thinking about, when you have enough money that you can move the market. And so based on research, the market is only 10% for the skill. It only counts for 10%. 90% of that is your psychology. So that means that the market is emotionally driven. Yep. So say you get a tweet from the president saying, hey, the U.S. dollar is too strong. What do you think is going to happen?
It's going to drop.
The dollar is going to drop, and everything that traded against the dollar is also going to be affected. And so that's why you get the terms of people saying trade the news. So we want to make sure that we know what's going on in the news. Even with COVID-19, depending on what our leaders are saying, it can cause a spike in the market for the upside or the downside. So how do I trade this? I wait for the market to make its move and trade the correction.
Okay.
That's one way to do it, or you can trade it on higher time frames. The news is going to push the market in the direction it's already intended to go. You just have to look at it on higher time frames to be able to see that. And I don't know if you're familiar with back in 2017 with Bitcoin, the person that Chase Bank, they said that Bitcoin was in a bubble and that it wasn't even worth it. And so people started selling off.
Yes.
And then he went in and bought $56 million worth of Bitcoin back in 2017. That was market manipulation. He ended up being fined from the FTC for doing it.
Yes. But companies do it on a regular basis because every day we get on CNBC, we watch Bloomberg, and what happens is those guys that are telling you what their stock should do, how it should move, that is a form of market manipulation. Not necessarily negative, but what they're saying is, hey, my company is trying to do this thing, and this is why it's going to be worth more in the next few weeks. So you should be buying my company. So again, we stick to that because we want to make sure that our traders and people in our group understand that we know that manipulation is going on. But the psychology is don't get frustrated, but also don't buy into the euphoria because that's what happens. Yep. Everybody's like, it can only keep going up.
Right.
Yep. Wait for the correction.
And then the end of February it happens and it drops.
Yeah. So Will talked about market manipulation, man, and looking at it, there's two types, right? You create a story, and the media picks it up, and that'll drive a price, right? Then another one is called structural manipulation. Structural manipulation is when a person who puts a large purchase order on a stock with the intention of fooling others to put money into it to buy it, and it drives the stock price up, right? But the whole time that joker just put a print in. He didn't buy, he just put an order in. Mm-hmm. And now you got people coming in trying to buy this stock, and then the price goes up, then he sells. Mm-hmm. Market manipulation. That's how that works. All right. So before we close, y'all have anything else from the bully or the queen?
Yes. So I'm going to give a quick recap on what happened with Bitcoin. Everybody wants to know, what is cryptocurrency doing? What is cryptocurrency doing? Well, right now, if you remember when we talked about it before, as it relates to the halving, we discussed how Bitcoin was going to drop, and how it was going to drop, and how it was a precursor for it to rise up. Well, guess what? Bitcoin is still dropping. So on the last chart that I marked up, you can see that the market, it kind of was hanging around in the zone. We were talking about supply and demand. If you go back and listen to the episode, we were talking about supply and demand. Well, it broke out of the supply zone. So what does that mean? Now supply zone becomes demand. So now we're waiting for the market to come back up, give us a retest, which is confirmation for the drop, and for it to continue to drop.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're just trapping that market and watching it do what it's supposed to do, and waiting for the opportunity to sell back up.
Yes,
to buy it back up.
Yeah, I like it. Thanks for that update. So, Miss Sylvia, before we close, what message do you want to give to the audience? What you got to say to us? Come on, give us a message. Give us something.
Like I said, I touched on what Personament Solutions is about, and it's about going in and helping other people when you can. The BSG group talked about helping people for free and giving them education and knowledge, and that's what I've been built on. So if you follow me on Facebook, where it's Sylvia Glanton, you'll see that I give information, I go live, I give credit tips and different things like that. So I just wanted to let everybody know that you can do whatever you put your mind to.
Yes.
You don't have to take no for an answer. If they won't give it to you, somebody else will. So just don't give up.
Facts. And first of all, I want to say thank you for being a guest on our show.
We had
a great time with you.
Yes.
So, hey, if you want to be a guest on the Money Talks podcast with the Black Sky Group, email us at blackskygroup1. That's the number 1, blackskygroup1@gmail.com. All right, so here's some calls to action before we close. If you're thinking about doing it, I say this every week, and I'm going to say it every week. Every time you hear my voice, every time the Godfathers talk, you're going to hear me say this. Whatever it is you want to do, go do it. The time is now. Understand your why and become obsessed with it, all right? Mm-hmm. Understand that why and become obsessed with it, because that's what all of us on this panel talked about today. We became obsessed with our why. Like, I ain't want to be broke no more, all right? And that's why I go so hard. My children are my number one driving factors, all right? For my traders out there, take all the information discussed. We talked about market manipulation, something that we've never talked about before. A lot of people don't even know about that kind of stuff. So take that, man, and use that to your trading strategies. So, we have Ms. Glanton here today, man, and guess what? She is the owner of Personament Solutions, who is our sponsor. So today's show was sponsored by, Personament Solutions, owned by Ms. Sylvia Glanton. All right, her services include credit counseling, debt settlement. For more information, go to her website, www.personamentsolutions.com. That is www.personamentsolutions.com. Miss Sylvia, spell it out for me again.
And that's PERSONAMEANT solutions.com.
Yeah, she spelled it right, too. I would have jacked that up. On that note, man, that's all we have time for today. Tune in next week where we continue the conversations, man. We talk to our beginners, talk to our advanced listeners, and we'll discuss all the things that's hot in the market and in the economy and trading. And from entrepreneurs, we're going to keep beating up, getting started, and having the right mindset and getting started right now. So with that being said, man, hey, the Godfather signing out.